So, I am continuing the DC Deck Builder Kickstarter exclusive package with the Rivals expansion of Flash versus the Reverse Flash. So, it's not going to be an unboxing because that footage also got messed up. But, I did try this out, and I have to say, I really like the Rivals format. It's actually really cool. I do have gripes that it's kind of small. And I say that just because of how the play mechanics work. But with the Kickstarter exclusive stuff, so from what I've read, all the Kickstarter cards are foiled. And I don't know how the Rival set normally goes, but I believe all the Rival sets are in the same format, where you have a Tier 1 all the way down to Tier 3 character. So, one of the new mechanics in the Rivals building is the Confrontation Mechanic. And what Confrontation is basically you have to announce before you play cards if you're going to attack the character, so it'd be Reverse Flash and Flash fighting each other, or you want to actually do your normal turn purchase cards and do your other abilities. Now that being said, during Confrontation you can still do your abilities, it's just only Confrontation abilities are going to trigger during the Confrontation round. And what you're trying to do is beat their value. If you have a bunch of weaknesses attached to you, it does weaken your character and it makes them easier. So for every weakness under a character, it subtracts 1, and now you only need 8 power basically to defeat them. Once they are defeated, your opponent gets the card and they upgrade to their second stage. They get a little bit stronger, and I mean tougher. Their abilities kind of in between. Sometimes they're a little bit better, sometimes they don't really matter. And then once you continue on till you get to the Phase 3. Once Phase 3 is done, then you go into, if you defeat them, you win. And it is the same for the Flash. But that's the mechanic they added for the Rivals, and from what I understand, that's pretty much all the Rivals sets. So here we have our 3 levels of the Reverse Flash. So we have the level 1 Flash, he's only worth 4 points, and you need 9 value to defeat him. And his special ability is the first time you play a villain during your turn, you may destroy a card in the lineup and then draw a card. Thankfully, there's a lot of cards in this set that actually help out the Reverse Flash's synergy. That being said, I don't think he's as good as Barry Allen Flash. His level 2 ability, so once the level 1's defeated, he becomes level 2. His cost goes up, so he's harder to defeat, and he's worth more points, but I feel like his ability has gotten kind of weakened. So once per turn your turn, you may play a card from the destroyed pile with VP less or equal to the number of villains you control, less than the number of villains you control, then destroy that card. It's actually a really cool ability, but until you get the synergy running, it's really hard to get it to work properly. And last we have level 3 Reverse Flash. He costs 15, and if you defeat him, you just win. So, Confrontation. First time you play a villain this turn, destroy the top card of the main deck. Which is cool because, again, there's a lot of synergies with Reverse Flash destroying cards. And then once per turn, plus 1 power for each card with cost 1 or greater when played with a turn that shares a type with a destroyed card. So Reverse Flash loves breaking cards, and he's actually has a lot of synergies with it. In fact, his actual character accelerates the game a lot. And here are 3 levels of the Flash. So level 1. You may pay 1 less to buy your first Speedster card this turn, which is a really powerful ability because the Speedsters help, especially with deck cycling and drawing. And then once per turn, you may discard a Superpower to draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. And that's an important feat with Barry here because the Speedsters, for their ability to trigger, you have to draw cards. So Barry has that built in, which with the cost reduction, like Jake Garrett's really strong. There's a lot of really strong Speedsters, and this gives the Flash a huge advantage first turn. Actually, first couple of turns. And then we have level 2 Flash, plus 1 power for each hero in play. It's pretty good, but nowhere as good as this ability, because one of the things I've learned playing the Flash is that card draw is kind of hard unless you can get the Speedsters going. And having a built-in ability is really good. Reverse Flash has it, but more planning. The second time you play Superpower turn, put the top card of the main deck or a card that costs 1 or greater from the destroyed pile back in the lineup. It is a helpful ability, especially to stop the Reverse Flash's ability to destroy the deck. And I don't like the second form as much as the first form. But his value goes up to 12, so he's a little bit harder to defeat. The last version of the Flash, third version, Confrontation, each time you put a different superpower, every time you play a different superpower this turn, draw a card, then discard a card, which helps with the Speedster ability. Each time you play a hero this turn, get +1 power and put a card with a cost 1 or greater from the destroy pile on top of the main deck, which helps because the deck is roughly, I think, 100 cards with all the Kickstarter stuff, and this is where the game, like, you draw out really fast. But I think the first level 1 Flash is really good. So these are not Kickstarter exclusives, but these are all the Speedsters, and with the Kickstarter, they made them all foil, and again, I gotta say that the foiling on them is amazing. They look really good. I love the comic art. So first up, we have the Flash, Jay Garrett. He is a hero, 3 power, he is a Speedster. Look at the top 4 cards from the top of your deck, and discard any number of them, or put the rest of them back in any order. So one of the neat things about the Speedsters are they all have the Flash Lightning Bolt in there. And that's why the Flash ability is really good, because the Speedsters are kind of expensive. So he gives you a huge advantage of buying them first turn. Kid Flash, Wally West. Draw 2 cards. Speedster, you may gain a card from the destroyed pile. And he costs 7, he's really good too. Then we have Kid Flash, Wallace West, +1 power and draw a card. Confrontation Speedster, put the top 2 cards of your discard pile this turn from your discard pile into your hand. Really strong confrontations. So, a side note with the Speedsters, when they draw a card, they do not trigger the Speedster effect. So you always want to draw cards before you play the Speedsters. Next we have XS. +1 power, Speedster. Discard a card. If you do, play a card from the lineup with a cost of 4 or less, and then at the end of the turn, return it for 3. XS is really cool too. We have Jess Quick. +2 power, Speedster. You may put top 2 cards of your discard pile on top of your deck, and she costs 4. Again, all the Speedsters just really, really good. Our Max Mercury, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Speedster, +1 power for each superpower you have played this turn. He costs 6. He's alright. And then we have Impulse. So Impulse has both marks just like Kid Flash, so he can be played with Reverse Flash or the Flash. If this is the first card you play this turn, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. Speedster, +1 power, put a card with a VP value of 1 from the destroy pile into the lineup, and he costs 2. I really like Impulse, just because if you do draw a bad hand, he helps a lot. Just that cycling option, it's like a redo. So we have our 5 billion Speedsters. We have Zoom, he's 3 power. Destroy the top 2 cards of the main deck. And in this Speedster, you may play a card from the destroyed pile. If you do, choose a foe to gain that card. It's a really weird ability. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. Zoom has a huge just deck grinding mechanic built in, and that's kind of what the Reverse Flash wants to do all day. He just runs out the deck. But he has a lot of synergies of playing stuff from the destroyed pile. Really neat side note too, he's the only 4 value card in the whole set. Next we have Godspeed, +2 power. Destroy a card in the lineup, and then your discard pile. And then his Speedster is +1 power for each Speedster card in the destroyed pile. So, the 3 games we played, there was never Speedster in the destroyed pile. We just kept on buying them, even with Zoom's ability triggering, just kept on buying them. They're just too good to pass up. They are expensive, though. So, like, Zoom costing 8 is a lot, and Godspeed costing 6. But I like Godspeed's ability more than Zoom's because he's more flexible. We have Reverse Flash Daniel West, Villain +2 power, and his Speedster he gets +1 power. And then defense, discard this to avoid an attack. If you do draw a card, you may destroy a card in your hand and or light up. I really like that ability, it's pretty handy. It doesn't help when you're getting attacked in confrontations, but there's a lot of other things that mess with you in your normal attacks. We have the Black Flash. +3 power, attack. Each foe discards a non-weakness card, which I always love hand destruction. Speedster, each foe that fails to avoid an attack must choose a Speedster card if able. So it really helps with getting rid of stuff, but he's also really expensive at 7. Then we have the Negative Flash. 2 power, if you destroy a card this turn, draw a card. Speedster, you may start a confrontation. Really interesting ability, really helps out Zoom a lot, just because Zoom is all about destroying cards and getting bonuses. So with the Kickstarter comes 6 Kickstarter exclusive promos. We have 2 villains, Turtle and the Thinker, Turtle gets plus 2 power. He has a block value of 2, which is used in the confrontations, so it helps. And then he gets plus 1 for each Speedster card the confronting player controls. Turtle's really neat, but I don't think he's great. The Thinker gets plus 1 power, confrontation. Put a card from the discard pile into your hand, which can be really helpful. Then we have the Location, Central CDPD. Ongoing, at the start of your turn, you may add the top card of the main deck to the lineup. If you do, pay 1 less to buy that card this turn. It's actually a pretty handy card. I like it. Then we have 1 copy of each superpower. Disorienting Speed, plus 2 power, attack. Each foe discards a confrontation card. This card's actually really strong. And then we have Hard Stop, plus 3 power, confrontation. If you fail this confrontation, you may use the power to buy 1 card from the lineup. It's kind of a good backup, but usually, if they throw a bunch of blocks or something that just negates the attack, at least it gives you the option of buying something. We have the Weather Wand. It's an equipment, 3 power. Next time you discard a card this turn, you may pass it to a foe's hand. We got this out multiple times, and I never found it where it was worth doing. I don't think it's a great exclusive. It's situational. And as we can see with these little flash labels, so we have this little red label here and this yellow label. So these are cards if you're going to do mix and match sets. Any card with the reverse flash logo is going to be added, and if some cards have dual, will be added to your deck. Same with Flash. So if you're going to play the Flash, you're going to add all the yellow cards and the ones that have the yellow and reverse Flash symbols. So if you've noticed this, there's a lot of hero speedsters, but not a lot of hero characters. And I believe that's to balance out how Zoom wants to run villains continuously. So first up, we got Director Sin. If you control a block card, plus 3 power, otherwise plus 1 power, cost 2. Not great, but it can help. Then we have Firestorm, plus 2 power. You may destroy a card you control. If you do, gain a card from the destroyed pile with the same cost as the destroyed card. And then its block value is 3. You may destroy a card you control or in your discard pile. Then we have Irish West. Hero, draw a card. Confrontation, draw a card. If you fail this confrontation, draw an additional card at the end of the turn. Handy. Never got to play her. In fact, I tried killing her with the reverse flash continuously, but someone said that was unsportsmanlike and decided to save their girlfriend/wife. Then we have Killer Frost, or Frost, Caitlin Snow. Plus 2 power. If you control superpower, attack. Each foe gains a weakness. And she costs 4. She's actually really, really good. Then we have Vibe. Plus 2 power, block 3, put up to 2 cards with a cost 1 or greater from the destroyed pile into the lineup. It's a handy ability. Again, it counteracts what Reverse Flash is doing. And then we have Elongated Man. 2 power and block 3, cost 3. He's pretty fair, he doesn't really do anything special. So as you can see, we have a lot of villains here. We have 12. So first up is Ragdoll. Plus 1 power, block 2, the foe confronting you gains a weakness, cost 2. Ragdoll's decent. It's a useful ability. Trickster, plus 1 power. You may put a card with a VP value of 0 or less from your discard pile into your hand. It's a really weird ability, and it really is kind of a turn-off too, because a lot of cards are 0 for the reverse flash. Which kind of screws them in the points if you're going to not be buried to death. I don't really like him, but he is cheap, and again, reverse flash mechanics works with villains. We have the Top. Plus 2 power, confrontation. When a foe puts a weakness from their discard pile into play. Which is handy because it then, gets stuck on them and makes them easier to fight. It's not great, especially for costing 3. But at least it gives you 2 power. Then we have Mirror Master. Plus 1 power. Play a card from the lineup with a VP value less than the number of other villains you control. Then return it. Cost 3. Again, it's one of those weird abilities because you're buying crappy villains like Golden Glider and Trickster. Really, it's not that great. I was expecting more from Mirror Master. They have Golden Glider. Really weird ability. Plus 2 power, confrontation, reveal top 4 cards of the deck. Stopping it when empty. pull a villain card and or equipment revealed this way into your hand and put it back in any order. Basically Jade Garrett, but with weird stuff. Cost 3. Cool thing about her is being 0 and the 2 power. You can just constantly pull her with like Trickster. But again, Trickster, I don't like Trickster. Heatwave. Destroy card in hand and in the lineup. Confrontation. If you play or have played another villain this turn, plus 2 power, cost 3. Again, synergies with what the Reverse Flash does. Gorilla Grodd, plus 2 power. If you control a superpower, draw a card, cost 4. Always good because card draw allows your speedsters to trigger. Zoom doesn't really have that problem, or Reverse Flash, just because of his innate ability, but again, he wants villains. Captain Cold, plus 1 power for each equipment and villain, including this one you have played this turn. So we have Captain Cold, villain, plus 1 power for each equipment and villain, including this one you've played or played this turn, cost 4. Actually really handy with Zoom. Next up is the Weather Wizard, plus 2 power if you discard a card this turn, plus 1 power. And if you control a villain, attack. Target foe gains a weakness, cost 4. I like cards that give your opponent weakness. They never seem to be that bad though. We have Abracadabra, 2 power. Reveal cards from the top of the deck equal the number of other villains and equipment you control. Stopping when empty. Discard any number of them and put the rest on top of any order, cost 4. Never really got him to work, but I can see him being good, but again, situational. Then we have Girder. 2 power, block 3, cost 3, pretty fair. Then we have Dr. Alchemy. 2 power, block 3, destroy up to 2 cards in the lineup, and he costs 4. So in the Rebel set, we have 4 locations, not including the exclusives. 2 for the Flash and 2 for the Reverse Flash. So the first is the Speed Force. So ongoing effect, once during your turn, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a Speedster card, draw it. If not, you may discard it. It costs 6. And it's handy, it's kind of expensive. We have the Flash Museum, ongoing once per turn. Put a card from your hand on top of your deck. It's really good with the Flash just because of the setups, just because of the way the Flash works. And now we have Star Labs, which is Reverse Flash. Ongoing, each time you destroy 1 or more cards during your turn, get plus 1 power, costs 5. Helps a lot with the Reverse Flash's mechanics just because, like I said, card destruction is what he wants to do, and that's a constant ability for every variant of him. Then we have the Negative Speed Force. Location, first time you destroy a card, each turn draw a card. Really handy again because that basically allows him to draw 2 cards consistently. Really good locations. I got really lucky and got these in first and second turn, and I was just blown away by it. Well, first and third turn. But I was blown away by how much this helps it. Zoom, or Reverse Flash. So we only have 4 equipment cards. Well, 6, but there's only 4 different types. So first up is the Flash Ring. Plus 2 power, put a Speedster card from your discard pile on top of your deck for 4. Really handy ability, but it seems to work better with Barry, like I said, because of the discounts of buying Speedsters. And then we have the Speedster Suit. Plus 2 power. Defense. Discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 cards and add 2 cards to the cost of all superheroes and supervillains this turn. Handy card. I do like it. It's really helpful, but it is expensive. We have the Cosmic Treadmill. 2 power, if you control a Speedster card, play the top card of your main deck, and at the end of turn, destroy it. Costs 6. It's a good card. It's also really expensive. We have the Lightning Rod. 3 power, destroy top card of the main deck. Confrontation. Play a Speedster card from the destroyed pile. At the end of the turn, add it to the lineup. Costs 7. Never got that to work because, again, Speedsters don't stay in the dead pile. So we have 11 new superpowers, and some of them are doubled up. So first up is Vibrating Hand. There's 2 of them in the deck. Gain 2 power. You may destroy a card in the lineup. If you do, put the top card of the main deck into the lineup. I like this card. I like anything that actually helps me get cards I need. Then we have Air Tornado. 2 power, block 4, draw a card, cost 5. It's pretty expensive. But block 4 is really good, and drawing a card is also good on top of that because it makes up for it. We have Sonic Snap. 2 power. Attack. Each foe gains a weakness, cost 5. I like cards like this, even though they're expensive. Then we have Flash Time. Draw a card. You may put a card with a cost of 1 or greater from the destroyed pile into the lineup. Defense. Discard this card to avoid attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. Run on Water. Draw a card, then discard a card. Block 2. Cost 2. It's handy with the Flash. Then we have Speed Clone. +1 power. Confrontation. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Accelerated Healing. +2 power. If you control a Speedster card, you may destroy a card you control. Cost 3. Think Fast. 2 power. Block 2. +2 if you reveal a Speedster card from your hand or discard pile, which should be pretty easy. And then Phasing. Look at the top card of your deck. Destroy it or leave it. Defense. Discard this card to avoid attack. If you do, you may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. Cost 3. And that is the last of the 2-ofs. The other cards, there's only one of, and that is Infinite Mass Punch. Confrontation. +1 power for each other card with a VP value of 1 or greater you played this turn. Otherwise, +2 power. Cost 7. Really expensive card. And it's super critical because it can be good and it can be bad. It just really depends on when you draw it. Then we have Time Traveler. Again, only 1 copy of Time Traveler. You may play the card from a destroyed pile with a cost of 1 or greater. If you do, put it on the top or bottom of the main deck. If you choose not to play a card from the lineup, at the end of the turn, destroy it. And it costs 6. So, here's the new art for the Punch, Vulnerability, Weakness, and Super Speed, which is basically like the kick. So, we got the Flash, Vulnerability, and Punch. And we have Reverse Flash, Punch, and Vulnerability. The Weakness has a new effect. When you play a weakness, you have to play a weakness card before playing other cards or ending your turn, and then return to the top of the stack if it's destroyed. Return this to the stack if it's destroyed. Ongoing. Subtract 1 from a character's cost when your character is defeated. Destroy this card. And that has to be with this value here. So weaknesses just get tacked on to make them easier to defeat your characters. Then we have Super Speed. +2 power for. During Confrontation, you may return this card to the stack. If you do, draw a card, then discard a card. Cost 3. It's pretty much the kick, but it's only used for Confrontations. So that's pretty much the DC deck building rivals for the Flash and Reverse Flash. I really like it. Only gripe is I think that the deck is too small with 99 cards. It's 104 with the Kickstarter stuff. But I think it's a really cool game. If you're just looking for a quick 2-player head-on game mode, this is great. I do think that Barry is really, really too strong just because you can buy cards like Jay Garrett really cheap. But other than that, it's fun. I enjoy this, and I'm kind of a DC fanboy. So, please subscribe if you like what I'm doing. Let me know who's your favorite character in the Flash universe. Other than that, take care, guys, and GG's.